Hey, what's up? I'm Amin Dhillon, and welcome to my podcast. I'm sitting down with the movers and shakers and the stars to chat about life, love, business, and being a total boss. It's raw, it's candid, it's the stories behind the headlines. This is In Conversation. Hey everyone, today on the show, I've got the man who's trying to help us all find a little love, the founder of Dil Mil, KJ Dhaliwal is on the show. First of all, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You've seen the ads, you've seen the celebrity endorsements, you've probably seen, the success stories. Dil Mil is everywhere and you're the man behind it. So take us back. I really am trying to understand how you came up with this amazing idea. So first of all, growing up, were you like the guy that everyone came to for advice? You had no problem getting girls, your matchmaking, was that kind of your background?
No, not at all. Uh, I don't think people definitely didn't come to me for advice. I was a little bit of a troublemaker when I was in my teens, but always a tinker. I was entrepreneur sort of from a very early age, and always just liked to solve problems. I think that's what sort of led me to fall into Dilmil, which was a problem that I saw in the world that had to be solved. But yeah, personally now, now I guess you could call me like the ultimate Majola, but
Yeah.
before now, that wasn't the case at all.
I'm so glad you said that because I was thinking of that. I'm like, technically, you're like a pachola, but a cool
Yeah,
version, like the cool one, not the one that embarrasses you.
yeah, yeah. I like to think so. There's obviously upsides and downsides to it, right?
Was there an incident though? Like, I know you were saying you like to solve problems. So tell me, there must have been like a moment that happened that you were like, ding, 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 I have a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. Like I mentioned, so I've always sort of tinkered with different ideas. Had a few startups before the Mill that nobody really knows about because they weren't that successful. And one of the problems that I saw recurringly, like come up in every single social setting of brown people, was when are you getting married, or have you found somebody, or so and so is like having a hard time. Not necessarily me, because I started the app when I was 23, and at that time I wasn't really thinking about getting married, or I wasn't really in the market looking for uh, something, I would say, substantial, because I was so busy with my career. But I saw it like in my friends and my cousins and older sort of the family that we had. It was a constant struggle finding the right person. And I was like, wow, this is like a really, really big problem. And it's a really important problem to solve. There's not that many problems in the world that really like cause pain to a person's life, and they're willing to go, very far to solve that problem for themselves, right? And finding that right person is one of those, right? And I think that um, a lot of people are within the diaspora market, at least that's where we're focused, right? That means like the U.S., U.K., Canada, Australia, sort of the expat markets of South Asians. It's very difficult to meet other like-minded South Asians that you connect with and that you can call your long-term partner, because of just how geographically dispersed we are, all throughout the world. And so you're very limited sort of to your like city, right? To maybe like the 10 or 20 people that are potentially people that are candidates for you, that check off all the boxes. So it's a really big problem for this community, that, well, problem really just for people that want to marry within the community,
Hmm.
right? And the other fact that was true, and it still is that majority, almost like 90% of South Asians want to marry or date other South Asians. So that created sort of this opportunity for us to try something, and for me to create this app and try to solve that problem.
Let me ask you, I know you're probably aware there's a very famous South Asian matchmaking
Yeah,
website.
yeah,
So, we all would grow up and there would be jokes, and I'm just going to say it out there because I'm sure they're not going to be like, oh my gosh, you brought us up. Shadi.com. Everyone would be like, oh, is that your Shadi.com profile picture? Or they'd be joking like, oh, better find someone else. Your parents are going to put you on Shadi.com. So I'm sure you were aware that
yeah.
there was already a website very much established, and I would say the leader. So what made you think I can bring something else that's different to the table?
Yeah. Well, I think you're talking about shady.com. And
What?
that was actually one of the reasons, that was sort of the core reason why we thought it was important to bring something new to the table, because a lot of people that use Shadi.com like were not happy with it.
Mhm.
In fact, 50% of their users are people's parents. So more often than not, when you're talking to somebody, you're actually not talking to the person, and you don't even know it. You're talking to their dad or their mom. And the other thing is, there was just it's a terrible product in my view, right? It's not sort of, it's like very web 1.0, hasn't really adapted and morphed into the beautiful sort of like UI UX that we're used to when we use, Instagram, or like Snapchat, or any sort of modern day technology consumer app. And that didn't exist, and so we saw this opportunity, where there was a couple of things that sort of were converging at that time. One was like Tinder was just very early on, and it had just taken off, and Bumble just had sort of started. They were getting their feet wet as well. So I saw that opportunity. I was like, wow, dating apps are going to be the future. Like, this is how people are going to meet, online, right? It makes sense, right? Everything is sort of turning digital. People are meeting online. People are every business is now sort of converting to adapt to the online environment, especially during this pandemic, and this COVID-19 situation. I think it's very clear that how important tech companies are, and online digital businesses are, because it can connect us in times of in times of pandemics, in times of, in the good times and the bad times, right? It makes life easier, right? So I live on the West Coast. I'm originally from the East Coast. My parents are out here. But we're able to FaceTime, right? And it's a great technology, right, that allows people to connect. So I saw the convergence of sort of these different technologies that are connecting people across the world, people becoming more comfortable with online dating and meeting people online. There just wasn't something that really catered to the needs of the South Asian diaspora market. And Shelly.com was really not cutting it, right? People have like password protected pictures. There's a lot of like, there's married people on Shelly.com, like,
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
married
Oh.
men, like just trying to find a fling, I guess. And so there was a lot of problems we saw with it, and I'm not going to keep saying bad things about them, because the guys at Shadi are friends, and Niplin's a friend, and I think they've done a tremendous job for when they started, right? Shadi.coms is more than a 20-year-old company, right? It started a very long time ago, and they did a great service to society back then. But now there really needed to be something new, and I think that's where Dil Mil was born. And we did look at Shadi, obviously, and that was something that also Bharat Matrimony, which less people know about, but equally is big, actually. And we were like, there needs to be sort of a version 2 of this, something that I would feel comfortable using, and not even just a product, but also a brand, right? Like, when you're called Shadi.com, you can't really like stand for much more than just that, right? But a lot of South Asians want to date, right? Like, we have 18-year-olds on Dil Mil, paying us, $35 a month, to be able to just date, right? They're not interested in getting married yet.
Mhm.
Maybe they want to eventually get married, but they want to find somebody to date. And Charlie doesn't really support that, right? Like, you wouldn't go to Charlie just to go find a date when you're 19, 20, right? And we saw this evolution of South Asian culture. And so the brand that Dil Mil's built also sort of talks to that, right? We do a lot of events that we're involved in, a lot of the marketing, a lot of the influencer partnerships we do, all sort of cater to the South Asian community, the South Asian sort of pop culture. And we think, we're really at the forefront of that, compared to somebody like a Shadi.
Absolutely. I feel like people are kind of almost like embarrassed to say if they're on Shadi.com, but I don't feel like a lot of my friends, if you mention Dil Mil, like, I have so many friends that say like, yeah, I'm on it, or yeah, I met my partner off of it. So I feel like in that way, you've done a really good job in making it not have stigma attached to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, dating in general has a stigma, right, within the South Asian community, and I think we've done a good job at sort of changing that, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and also, just a lot of work to be done with changing what people think of Dil Mil as well. And I'm glad you're saying that, and most people do think of Dil Mil like that, but there's still people that are like, oh, like, I don't know, is Dil Mil just for marriage? Like, maybe it's not for me, right? So we're changing that narrative, and that's done through some of the stories that we tell, and the campaigns that we do
Hmm.
and different things we do. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the biggest thing is like, the other thing I noticed was like, like when your daughter, when the South Asian community, like if you have a daughter and she just turned like 29 or 28, then all of a sudden you're like pushing her out the door to like go on a date, right? But when you're like 22 or 23, it's like dating. No, 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 we don't talk about that in the house, right? And so that needed to change, right?
Hmm.
So there's like, I would say like the convergence of a lot of these problems and opportunities that we had to address, but it's been an uphill battle, but I think we've done a good job so far.
Of course. Okay, so I want to hear the story. So let's talk about the early days. So you get the idea. I think there's an opportunity to create an app for South Asians to date online. How do you take it from an idea and then actually turn it into the product? So talk to me about the early days and trying to get the app actually made and launched.
Yeah. Well, any product needs to be built, and it usually needs initial funding. And like I said, I was on the West Coast. I moved there, in 2013. Gosh, it's been 7 years. And at the time, I was working at another tech company, leading growth in San Francisco, and I've always sort of tinkered with ideas and products, and I realized that it's hard to go out and raise money and build something. You have to sort of build it and have traction before you can do that. So my first goal was to design a prototype, right? Something that I could show to somebody and be like, hey, like I want to build this, like let's build it. Let's not worry about going to raise money. Let's not worry about anything else. We could do it as a side hustle. So it was like a nights and weekend thing, going through constant iterations, and then I had like a V1 design. And then I have an engineering background, but I wasn't like, always focused on coding. I wasn't great at it. So I needed a partner that was going to be able to sort of, help me build the initial version. And I went to a Google hackathon, met my co-founder, and we sort of built V1 of it, and then I would go to like bars and like South Asian events and like show people like, oh, what do you think about this? Would you use this? And people would give us like, feedback, and then we take that feedback and then try to iterate on the product. I think that took about like 2 or 3 months, just the first version, getting that like to a point, and it was very bare bones. The other day, Dil Mil just hit its like 5-year anniversary, and we posted in our Slack channel like the V1 design, and it was embarrassing, but it worked,
Yeah.
right? And I made it in Photoshop. Like nobody like makes like product design in Photoshop anymore, but it worked, and it was just very simple. You hit like or dislike, and then you can chat if you match, right? That took off. We had about initially like 200-300 people that were mainly from like my friend circle and people that I knew that were brown, like just sending them messages on Facebook because Instagram wasn't as popular at the time, and just messaging them and begging them to go download this app and like talk about it with their friends. And so people did that, and people were like, "Oh wow, this is actually pretty cool."
Hmm.
So we had the initial like 200-300 users, and then we never spent anything on marketing, until about a year almost, or about 9 to 10 months into the business. So it was all word of mouth. So it sort of snowballed from there, and people would tell people. We had about 1,000 users, I think, in about a week or so, and then they were all sort of matching with each other and all chatting, and the engagement was super high. We were like, okay, we're definitely like on to something now. And I had gotten lucky and went out and built a really good group of advisors. We had one of the founders of Match.com, who actually was our first advisor to the company, and he was always on the call with me and telling me sort of what to what to look out for and things like that. And then I remember the first month we made revenue, and it wasn't much. It was about $5,000 or something like that the first month. And I called him like, hey, Will, like, we're actually making money. Like, we made about $5,000. Like, what do you think? Do you think I can go out and raise money now? And he was like, oh yeah, like I want to invest. And that was our first investor. And then we got another guy from that recently ran partnerships at Uber. He came in as an initial investor, and that was it. And after that, we sort of, I quit my job. This was by the way, this was all happening when I was working a full-time job, and this was sort of on the nights and weekends. We were tinkering with this idea, and and I realized that this is going to be big, and I need to focus full time on this, right? And I wasn't really paying myself in the beginning, and I just quit my job. I had a little bit of money saved up. I did well. I used to work on Wall Street before, and I used to sort of trade and make money on the side a little bit. So I was like, I'll be able to survive at least for a while, and then see what happens. I can go back and get a job. I was 23, 24 at the time, and then yeah, I mean, we continued to build it, and then my co-founder, the first guy that I brought onto the team, he was at Microsoft. He led the team that built Office for Mac, and he was like, I'll quit Microsoft, but we need to raise money. I need like a real salary. So I just hustled for like a month and went out, and we raised our first $1 million. And then he quit, and then me and him were just working on this like all the time. And yeah, and that was like about a year into it almost. And after that, after raising money, we were able to hire like a real team and like start really growing, the right way. The V1's always like a very rough draft of the app. We had a lot of bugs, we had a lot of issues, but the core product worked. But then after that, we kept on increasing our user base through marketing, but also improving the product, using user feedback and increasing it. And now, I mean, Dil Mil's been grown to a global brand. People know about it, and it's been over 5 years now. It's pretty crazy to think about.
Mm. And what's interesting is recently you were acquired. What is the
Yeah,
name of the group then? Dating.com group. So
yeah.
congratulations, right? Like, is this
I,
like the dream where you like, I hope somebody acquires me and helps me kind of like not have
yeah,
to shoulder all the responsibility?
yeah, yeah. No, totally. I mean, I'm blessed. Definitely living the American dream. I think that was always the goal, right? Was to build something valuable for the world, and then be able to obviously financially benefit as well. But continue to do this. It really gets me going. Is building new products that people really love.
Hmm.
So Dilmil is probably not my last app or product, but certainly, we did well from that. As you said, the acquisition happened at the end of last year. We got acquired by one of the largest European dating companies called Dating Group, and they saw an opportunity to take this product and really grow it globally.
Of course.
And we, as a team, we thought they were the right partner to sort of partner with and do that. So I'm still actually running the company as a CEO in the interim, sort of the transition period, and then also helping them with other things like M&A and strategy.
KJ, let me ask you, how much did they value the company at?
So yeah, we got it's public. I mean, there's articles about it. So the valuation was around 50 million. Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, I'm not in that whole tech industry, but I feel like that is a very impressive number.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised that Dil Mil actually makes a lot of money. A lot of people don't realize that, but dating apps in general actually represent a really large chunk of App Store revenue. And actually, dating and gaming combined are the majority of App Store revenue in the world.
Dating and
Um,
gaming.
Gaming, yeah. Um, Gaming's number one, dating's number two in terms of like gross revenue from
That's
apps.
crazy.
And then it's like entertainment, things like Netflix and things like that.
Okay.
But yeah, like I said earlier, if you really solve a problem with somebody, people are going to be willing to pay you, right? So I mean, you can charge upwards of $50 a month, right? We have different packages. Our base is 35 a month, and we go up to 50, and there's other combinations of the packages. And we have about 2 million users, and not all of them pay, but a good chunk do. So you can do the math on a
Okay, wait,
monthly
wait. I
basis.
want
It
to
comes
ask
to
you
a
that.
lot
I
of
was going
money.
to ask you how many users. You got 2 million users worldwide.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
you started from 200, 300 about 5 years ago
yeah.
to that. KJ, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think the other sort of the crazier thing that is like anywhere I go, like I always find somebody that knows somebody that I met on Dilmil. right? And it's every day we hear about like success stories of people getting married, and how we solve a really big problem for them, or like how we like introduce them to like their soulmate, and it's an amazing
Oh,
sort of work to be doing, right? And I think that that for me is actually much more like meaningful, is that the number of people we've helped. And it's crazy because a lot of people don't want to talk about it, right? Like a lot of people don't want to like tell people that they met on Film Mill. So just the small percentage that we know about is overwhelming.
yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot more that we don't know about.
Because I was going to ask you, as somebody who started the app, and when people actually find their soulmate, I kind of feel like you have to be invited to the wedding.
Yeah, yeah, we get invited to a lot of weddings, and
Do you really like? Do
unfortunately,
strangers actually message you and be like, "Hey, KJ, we don't know each other, but I'm marrying the person I met on Dil Mil, so here's the invite. You got a +1. Hope to see you there.
yeah,
Open bar."
yeah, yeah. I mean, all the time we get invitations, we get letters at the office,
Oh,
and we actually do a lot for our couples too. Like if you met on Dilmil, we will do maybe a free photo shoot for your engagement, or we will like sponsor something at the wedding. Like we've done like things like a photo booth, or like we'll do the shot classes or something like that, and that gives us great branding as well, but also gives us a chance to sort of connect deeper with our success stories. But we love success stories, and we're always like engaged with them. They always want us to come, but if I started doing that, I would never work because we get a new success story
what a terrible
at the
problem to
wedding.
have. Too many successful matches that have turned into marriages that you have too many
Yeah,
invites.
yeah. But I do go to some, and actually, in fact, my sister met her husband on Vilmo,
That's
and
amazing.
yeah. So obviously, I was there, and we did a bunch of Vilmo stuff there, so it was a lot of fun.
That is so cool. KG, do you remember the first time you ever heard of two people matching and actually getting married? Because I feel like the first one you're kind of like, whoa, I did that. Do you remember that? Do you remember the
Yeah,
couple?
yeah, yeah. It was actually my mom that told me, and it's funny because it's very ironic. When I started the company, I have an engineering background, and I was in Wall Street. I was in finance. I had a really good career, and I was leading growth and at a tech company. Then I left to go start this like dating, matchmaking app. And in their mind, they were just like, "Wait, what are you doing? Like, you're helping people get married? Like, are you a chola? Like, like they didn't really understand." And they just thought I was like a chola, like calling people up and trying to like connect them. And when I started the app, right? And and I think it was really rewarding on two fronts for me when I first found out, because it was my mom. She was at some event, and some auntie was talking about how like so and so like got married recently, and the girl and the guy met on Dilmil. And then she like overheard that conversation, and then called me. She was like, "Oh wow, like like so and so was like daughter, met somebody on Dilmil and they got married." And I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." And at the same time, she was like, "Wow, I'm kind of proud of you now. Like now I know what you're doing." And so it was a double sort of win there. But yeah, that was the first couple that we met, and then what we found out about, and then it turned out that there was a lot more that we didn't know about. So we set up like the channels to be able to collect more data around that. Things like when you go to delete the app, we ask you why you're deleting, and one of the reasons is like I met somebody, and we didn't have that, and so we added that in. There's other. Then we started doing a lot of content marketing around it. But yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a while ago. It was actually really, really early on that happened, and I think that was maybe within the first 6 months when we
Amazing.
launched. That happened, and uh, which also kind of shows, right, like how much pent up demand there was for people to try to meet somebody to get married. That somebody met in a matter of like we've had stories where people meet and they get married like in 2 weeks. It's crazy.
What?
But yeah,
In 2 weeks.
yeah, like we've had stories like that. I don't even know how you plan your wedding like that. It's almost like the wedding is planned. You're just looking for the guy or the girl now.
I mean, it
I mean, I guess it
works.
makes sense, right? People go to India and then they get married in 2 weeks and they come back, right? So I guess why not? Why not on Bono? But yeah, that's the story of the first success story.
That's cool. KJ, I read online though, you were estimating that you have, because of the app, there's about one marriage a day that happens because of it. I was like, how do you know that? Is it just based on people contacting you, or where do you get that figure from?
Yeah, so we have actually more. It's actually more than one a day now. But It's just an app. So we basically look at how many success stories we get within a month. So that's like I mentioned earlier. It's one is like people actually do reach out and they contact us because we do a lot of content marketing around some of the stuff that we do for our couples. So people are like, "Oh, I met on Dil," and we obviously validate it and everything before we do anything for them.
Mhm.
And then the other is when you go to delete your account, you can actually like specify like met, so we'll like reach out to you.
But that is so cool. A marriage a day because of you.
Yeah. So it tends to be like now it's higher, but it used to be about 30 a month, and then so we averaged it to one a day. So
That's
just divided by
amazing.
30.
Okay, so already you had so much success, then the pandemic happened and it completely changed our lives, especially when it comes to our dating lives. So, how did Dil Mil, in a way, benefit from this? Did you see quite a bit of a difference, let's say in March, when the pandemic first really started having the lockdown? Did you notice that it affected Dil Mil?
Yeah, we actually saw about a 30% in usage because of the COVID-19 situation. Um, People are at home and they have nothing to do, and they're bored and they're lonely. So Dilma solves a problem for them, right?
Hmm.
So we are seeing more people online now that maybe traditionally weren't, open to online dating, sort of trying it for the first time as well, which is actually really great because online dating is a tool, right? I think like the stigma associated with it is really fading quickly, and people are becoming comfortable meeting people online. And it's quite frankly a safer way to like, get to know somebody before you like go and meet them in real life. I'm talking if you're meeting like strangers, right? Versus like going out and trying to meet strangers physically every day, right? So you do that within a safe environment, and uh, uh, and obviously there's no physical contact right now, but we do see a lot of people still going on dates and stuff. I'm sure people are still doing it, but ultimately it's a great time for anybody that wants to find somebody and they have downtime now. They're at home. They can get on the app and sort of swipe and match and talk and get to know somebody, and then when things do open back up and things go back to normal, they have sort of a, somebody lined up, maybe hopefully to date.
Exactly. Who is
Yeah.
the kind of average person on Dil Mil? Do you kind of have a profile?
The average person?
Yeah.
That's a hard question. No, we sort of have a range of our demographic data. So our average user actually is between 18 to 35. Our median age is about 27. So it tapers us to a nice bell curve on both sides. We have majority of our users are in the US, and then the UK is actually our second largest market, and Canada's like actually growing now a lot faster than it was before. We're actually within the last year, so we started focusing more on Canada. So we're coming to you, and
Oh,
uh,
we
and
welcome
you're
you.
yours.
But I was like, why were we so slow to
Yeah.
get on the app? Why are we just
Uh,
like too much about focusing in person or what?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, we haven't even been able to solve that question. Canadians are just harder to convince, I guess, to start using products. You guys are you guys are tough. But yeah, the UK was actually a fairly easy market to grow. Like once people found out about it and they started using it, and it started growing really fast.
That's really interesting because I feel like we have similar communities in all these countries, right? Like it's not like you can tell really a big
Yeah,
difference between a South Asian young person in the US, the UK, or
yeah.
Canada. We're all very similar. So I'm wondering why Canada is kind of lagging behind.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think I'm sure part of it has to do with our lack of marketing effort in Canada in the early days, and I think that we were mainly, focused on the U.S. In the beginning because we're based here and we sort of understood this market better
Mhm.
and get the marketing done here. But a lot of it has to do with also just how some of the networks are set up. Some of the like Facebook and other networks that run advertising. Advertising costs and different things are very different in different countries. And Canada, is a much smaller country, right, than the U.S. So
But we need
it's like,
love.
what was that?
But we need love too.
Oh, of course, yeah, and we're definitely trying our hardest now to grow there, and we're doing pretty well. We do events as well. We've done We partnered with 5X in Vancouver last year. And we've done sort of mill and chill lounges that we created, and so that's created a lot of sort of brand resonance in the community out there. But yeah, we plan on doing more marketing out there, and a lot of it's actually growing through word of mouth now as well. So people are talking about it and using it now. So hopefully Canada becomes a core market for us, like the US and UK very soon.
Yeah, I would love that. I'd love to see Dil Mil everywhere. And I'm like kind of like you, but more in person. I actually love being the matchmaker. I love love.
Yeah,
I'm like a romantic. So whenever I see like, I'm always like trying to be like, you're single? Okay, let me see like who I got for you. So come, we'll help bring love to
yeah.
people together. I'm glad you brought up Facebook because I wanted to ask you, since you launched online dating, especially now with the pandemic, I feel like a lot of companies are going to either focus on that or maybe even new ones may enter. Facebook, as you know, decided to enter dating as well. So how has that affected you? Do you feel like there's more intense competition or is there room for everybody?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Facebook is a very interesting company. They try a lot of things, right? And a lot of people don't even know this, but Facebook has like a jobs, aspect to Facebook that it's like sort of like LinkedIn that you could use to find jobs. I'm not sure if you knew that,
No, I didn't
but
know that.
so they have a lot of other things that they sort of have as a feature in their product. Um, and Facebook Dating actually got launched earlier this year, but they actually haven't been doing that well. And we have some friends at Facebook, so we get sort of the DL info from that. But I think it's a hard problem to solve when you have a product that has a lot of like different features, right? It's sort of spreading itself out pretty thin, and people like I don't actually know anybody that uses Facebook Dating seriously, right? Uh, Everybody's using either like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, or Dil Mil, right? And if you're brown, then you're most definitely at least you've heard of Dil Mil.
Hmm.
But most people have heard of Facebook dating now, but they haven't really used it. So I definitely think there's room for multiple players. I think from Dil Mil's perspective, we're not really worried about it too much because we don't really directly actually compete with like Bumble and Hinge and other platforms because of sort of the unique aspect of Dil Mil. There's two main reasons why Dil Mil is really different than a Hinge or a Bumble or Tinder or other platforms. One is like you're able to segment by the criteria that's important to you as a South Asian. And some platforms have it, some don't, some have some parts of it. But Dil Mil has like that checklist, right? That your parents have and then you have, right? And so we try to like help people like fill out that checklist and see the people that meet that criteria. And the second reason is we actually our matching algorithm doesn't really uh, rely solely on location. The larger platforms, one of the biggest factors in their matchmaking is location. So they'll like Tinder will show you somebody X miles away from you. Because South Asians are geographically dispersed across the world, it's actually in your best interest to be able to like move past just your city and find somebody in another city, right? So, for example, we have a lot of couples that are meeting across the country. So, New York and Texas, California, Seattle, and Michigan and Virginia,
Hmm.
all over the country, right? And likewise all over the world, like Toronto and Vancouver or Vancouver in California. We've had tons of even like London and New York success stories, and that's not really possible on the other dating platforms, or at least that's not how their core matching algorithm works. So that makes Dil Mil very different, is because we try to show you people nearby, but whenever we think that somebody else is better for you, but they're a little bit further away, we'll show you that person. Most other mass market dating platforms won't. So because of those reasons, Dil Mil is sort of in this unique position that it wouldn't make sense for the bigger guys to ever like copy Dil Mil in that sense, because they would be very limiting their growth because their demographic is mass market, right? They don't really necessarily care about solving a problem for a unique or niche community, so they wouldn't really compete with us directly ever. But is Tinder worried about Facebook dating? Probably. But I think they too have realized now. We have friends at Tinder, and in fact, one of our investors used to run M&A there, and they're not really worried either. I mean, if you look at Match Group stock, it's been going up
Hmm.
for the past few years.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing well. I don't think they're too worried. But Facebook's a good company, and if they were to if they were to launch an independent app and put tons of marketing resources behind it, then maybe there's something to worry about. But I
Okay.
think right now, since it's sort of so deeply embedded into Facebook.com and Facebook app, it's not that worrisome for most dating apps.
Yeah. KJ, I was just, when you were speaking about long distance love, I was like, you know what? What about India? Like, I know you haven't
Mhm.
mentioned it, but I was like, if we're talking about South Asians, India is full of them, right? So,
Yeah.
is that maybe of interest for you to get into India, or are you focusing on South Asians outside of India?
Yeah, that's always been an interesting question for us. And we've initially, like, when we started, we focused on the outside of India. And we have done that, for a very long time. And the reason really was we really understood this market and we knew there was a really big problem in this market, which is the diaspora sort of, put like outside of India market. And within India, like everybody's brown around you, right? So it's like probably actually not that big. But also apps, the mass market apps, like Bumble and Tinder, actually work well in India, right? Because they're, you know, everybody that you swipe on Bumble in India is going to be brown, right? Versus every 1 out of 100 profile in the US that you swipe on might be brown, right? So Dil Mil has less of a competitive advantage there in India. But one of the things that we are exploring is that connecting Indians in India with Indians outside of India, because we are sort of the best positioned to do that because we have sort of that South Asian market outside of not just India, but Pakistan and Bangladesh and Nepal and all sort of the South Asian region. Uh, a lot of South Asians actually, like I said earlier in the call, was they go back to India and they meet somebody to get married and then they come back here, right? So there is that overlap happening, and we think we're sort of the best position to address that because we have the sort of the largest South Asian diaspora demographic on Dil Mil. So we think that we can use that to our advantage, and that's a part of the reason why we partner with Dating.com Group as well, because they're much bigger than us. They have more resources. They do, one of their products does more than 200 million in revenue a year. So they're able to really help us expand in India faster than we are able to do ourselves because uh, India is a very interesting market. Without getting too like technical into like the business side of it, but it's much harder to monetize that market. So people aren't like used to paying for anything online. They're starting to, but there's a phase in a new brand in India where you have to spend a lot of money to get that mind share before you ever even see like any type of ROI. And that costs a lot of money and it's a big risk. So you can obviously do that with a bigger partner. Even companies like Uber and Amazon struggled, in India. That's why you have like, Flipkart, which is like the Amazon of India, and you have the Oya, the Ola, which is the Uber of India, because those companies are sort of homegrown. They're able to sort of eat those costs and do it in a way that is organic versus a large company going in and trying to dominate that market overnight. It's really hard to do. So it's a very different market, and I think that it is an interesting one. I and also to be honest, like in the beginning, I'd much rather build a product and solve a problem for like my friends and people that I know and grew up with, and understand versus for people across the world that I don't right now. But I think we know enough now. We spent a lot of time to kind of understand that market, and that is on the roadmap in the future.
Okay. Now, you've done such an amazing job with Dil Mil, and I think you said earlier that you had done other startups, but it failed. You've now hit gold. So I'm thinking, as an entrepreneur, why not maybe do the same thing for other communities? Has that idea occurred to you?
Yeah. You mean dating apps for other
Yeah,
communities?
I just want you to make that
Yeah.
money. So I'm thinking you're killing it with Dil Mil. There's a lot of other people that need love as well. So if you can do it with the
Yeah.
Indian community, you could probably do it with other communities. So
Yeah.
potential?
Yeah. Well, we actually do have another app called Shalom, which is for the Jewish community.
Oh, no way.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So that's already there. And
How's
we have
that
some other
doing? Is
products
it the
that we
same growth as Dil Mil?
that hasn't yet because we haven't really focused on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it could very well be, and that's a part of the strategy at dating.com as well. Is really take the technology that we've invested a lot of time and energy in building a really good foundation for the product that we can now take it and replicate it across other vertical markets. And that's a part of the reason why like Dilmil also is really valuable is because the tech that we've built is very scalable and we can use it for other communities. So
Yeah.
that's definitely on the roadmap. We'll have to add you to our strategy team
Oh,
because
I'm full of
you're
ideas. Like
thinking
I
of
told
things
you,
that
I
we're
love
thinking
love.
of.
If I honestly, that's why if I could have my dream job, it would be doing something like what you're doing because I already
Yeah,
love connecting people, but then I think, the world needs more love. Like
yeah,
so if
absolutely.
we can bring people together that can be happy and like I'm just like what better feeling than having two
Yeah,
people just be so in love. I personally, when I matchmake, I demand that they name their first child after me. I don't know about
yeah.
you, but so far has not worked out for me. So I'm a little like tiffed. Because Amin, great unisex name, easy to
Yeah,
pronounce, very strong, peaceful, but apparently not.
yeah.
So
I
one
mean, mine
day,
is I guess most Punjabi names are like unisex, right? I mean, mine's Kamal Jeet. That's what KJ stands for.
yeah,
And I guess I could try that. I'll try that and get back to you, see how it
okay.
works. If people are willing to name their
Okay.
baby after me.
When you come to Toronto, we'll meet up for
Yeah,
like a coffee, and I'm going to tell you some of
yeah.
my matchmaking stories
Okay.
where I've literally been on a bad date. And true
Uh-huh.
story, two of my friends have met their husband because I was on a bad date. They got married. I was in the wedding party, yay. Did they name their children after me? No. I did sometimes make a shout out at the wedding. But I'm
Mhm.
like, I took one for the team. I was on a terrible date and you met by accident the love of your life. So I'll share you with some stories. That's
Wait,
why I
was
think
it
you're in a better
the guy
market.
that you were on a date with ended up marrying your friend? Is that what happened?
No, no. So
Or
I would be on the date with
yeah,
person X. And you know how sometimes you would be out with like, a double date, you bring your girlfriend with you,
right, right, right.
or like it's the safety thing, right? Sometimes you're like at the beginning like, oh, I'll
Yeah,
bring someone. So at least two times this has happened to me by accident where I've match made them. The date has been horrible and I leave
yeah,
thinking, okay, like nothing happened, and then they randomly end up meeting the love of their life. Like it's not even a person in the group, it's like literally they just like bumped into them,
yeah.
and they get married.
Wow.
I'm like the in-person Dil
I mean,
Mil.
yeah, you really are. We need a partner.
We need to collaborate. We'll talk business after this.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask
yeah.
you, KJ, one of the things in the Indian community that I find is part of the stigma, now more people are delaying getting married, right? Like before, a lot of people would get married like while in school, right out of school. I know, at least here in Toronto, I know a lot of people that are older that are single and either just before couldn't meet anyone or weren't like trying to meet anyone until now. So I wanted to ask you, let's say
Mhm.
dating age 40 and above, do you feel like there is a demand for that? Do you find a lot of users are coming to you? Like, can we help people that are a little bit older find love through your app?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we have users, over 40, close to 50 as well,
Oh, wow.
and they're very engaged actually, and a lot of them are spending a lot of time online because it's a great way to meet people, like I said. And yeah, certainly where we're seeing that shift. I think actually when we started Bill now, our median age might have been around 25, and now it's like I said, it's moved to sort of 27, and so that's just a 5 year period, but it's definitely a trend in not even just in South Asian society, but in society in general, right? Is people are getting married at older age, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that people want to actually focus on their career and they want to build a career before they get married, and marriage is no longer just like the ultimate goal, right? For like for anybody, right? And I think that there's a lot of other things to life that life has to offer that people are taking advantage of, and getting married at an older age, and that's becoming the norm. And we think that that trend's going to continue, and we love that. Right? You're spending more time on Dil Mil, and you're dating more people, and that's another thing that we're able to help people with is like maybe you don't want to get married when you're 20, 29, or 30, right? Maybe you want to get married when you're 40, right? But you want to date, you want to meet people, and Dil Mil works for that. Right? It works for both reasons. We recently added in during onboarding, we added in sort of the questions like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for something casual, something long term, or marriage? And people, we found are pretty honest with that now. And we try to, we're going to try to do this more, but the goal is to try to match people that are looking for similar things.
Of course.
And I think it works. I think, a lot of people don't know this one either, but there's a product called Our Time, which is owned by the same company that's owned by that owns Tinder, which is Match Group. That actually is doing really well for them. And it's a 50 plus. It's a dating website, dating app for people that are 50 plus, and that's been one of their fastest, growing products. So yeah, all people need love. All types of people need love.
So KJ, if somebody's watching this interview and let's say they're 40, 45, and their parents are like crying because they think their son or daughter is not going to find anyone, that they're over the hill, maybe the aunties are just giving up on them. Right now we can say, no, there's hope. You get on Dil Mil and you'll help them find love, regardless of the age.
Yeah, totally. And we've done that so much. We have success stories, all the way up to 50, 55.
That's amazing.
Even couples that have are in their third marriage, for example. And we have this great story that I always like to tell, which is this girl from Dallas that was previously married. The guy's from Dallas that was previously married, and he got divorced and had 2 sons. And then this girl from New Jersey who was married and then got divorced and also had 2 sons. Both had sort of like given up on ever getting married again. And they, by chance, some of their friends kind of recommended they download Dil Mil, try it out. And within a week of using Dil Mil, they both matched. And now they're married, and all 4 of the kids live together, and they all love each other. And the kids were like diehard Cowboys fans, so they moved to Texas. They live in Dallas now, and it's like one of those stories that like makes you realize like what you're doing is actually really important, right? And they would have probably never gotten married again, and had it not been for Dil Mil, especially because the girl had married into, I believe, a Muslim family, and then her family was not okay with that, so she lost touch with her family. So she didn't really have anybody to sort of support her and try to encourage her to go out and dating and meet people. And Dil Mil was there for her. We don't discriminate who you are. If you're old or you're divorced or you're young, we just help connect people.
Yeah, amazing. But I gotta say, the best job ever, KJ. I'm gonna have to work for you. I'm gonna figure out a position that I can come work for you. Okay, so let me switch gears now. So I'm sure people that are watching this are thinking, "Okay, this sounds amazing. I'm gonna jump on the app. I'm gonna download it, or whatever they have to do to get on it." Let's give some tips. So I'm sure with your 5 years of Dil Mil, you've kind of have an idea now, and I'm sure with feedback of what works and what doesn't. So I'm gonna break it down, and we'll give some advice. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, what are your tips on how a person can get the most matches? What are some things they should make sure they do?
It starts with pictures, right? You want to have really high quality, good pictures that you've taken of yourself, not just like bathroom selfies that are blurred, right? Like nobody wants to swipe right on that. And show some personality. So like, don't just have all like pictures of yourself standing there doing nothing. Like, make them active pictures. Whether it's like doing some sort of sport or like your favorite hobby or like something out and about. People like to see people sort of in their lifestyle and their active sort of like things that they're sort of happy, and hobbies and things that make them happy. And post that, and be authentic. The bio is really an opportunity for you to make a first impression. So just don't put like the standard like quote there or something like that. That you would do on Instagram, maybe, right? Like take that opportunity, like to really just be authentic and say something that people are like, oh wow, this person is real, and there's somebody that you relate to, and they're cool. They're not that serious. And we have things like personality traits that you can select. Majority of our users do have them, and we see a much higher match rate for them. The people that have personality traits selected, and yeah, and I think that's really it. And the more you use the product, the more likely you are to match, right? Obviously, and so the more active you are, the higher up you are in sort of the matching algorithm stack for other users, because we value people that use the product because they're actually going to talk if they do end up getting matched, right?
Okay.
Versus somebody that hasn't used it for a year. so so use it often, and try to keep it updated. Put some good pictures on there. Put a good bio, use good personality traits, and be authentic.
Okay. So to recap, good photos, avoid the bathroom selfie. I'm going to throw one in
Yeah,
there. Avoid any shirtless or flexing
yeah,
photos because we get it, you work out, but that should not be your first one. Um,
yeah.
and
Unless you're like a pro athlete, and that's your like career, and you want to like show yourself on a stage or something. Yeah,
no,
that's
KJ,
different.
it's never a good time to put a shirtless
Well, yeah, I mean,
selfie.
you know more than I do then. Oh, the one thing I did forget was like having dogs in your picture helps a lot too.
What about babies? Should like guys just be holding random babies?
Um, I'm pretty sure that helps. But we actually recently had to make a decision not to allow pictures of babies, because
Oh,
of just like some security things, and some privacy issues. But yeah, so the minimum age on Dil Mil is 18,
mm-hmm.
um, because of sort of laws around
Of
online
course.
dating and sort of what's considered an adult, and
Okay,
whatnot. But yeah, I'm pretty sure babies do help too, but dogs help a lot. So if you can't do babies, do dogs.
but not cats. Are
Uh,
there any animals
we
that you feel like actually decrease their
I'm not
chances?
I'm not really a cat person, so
Oh my gosh, me
maybe I just
either.
maybe have a little bit of a bias towards that.
I'm
Maybe I'll
allergic. I
check
don't know
the
about
data.
you, so I stay away from them. I'm like, you're evil. You're gonna kill me.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I can't do cats, man.
Okay, so no
Dogs all the way.
babies. Get a dog. What about family photos? Should someone do like a very Karan Johar, kabhi kushi kabhi gum kind of like family photo and show everybody? Or do you think no, privacy again?
No, you can do that. I mean, you can certainly post pictures of friends and stuff. Um, we don't allow you to do that in the first picture. So we actually have very strict sort of rules for your first picture. You can't even like have sunglasses on in the first picture. You can't be with multiple people. You have to show your face clearly, because we don't want people getting catfish, right? Like we want people to know like who they're talking to.
Oh my God, I was
So
just
you can
thinking
have.
that, KJ. I was thinking how, when you were talking about security and safety, I feel like catfishing is a big issue. So, do you verify profiles? Like, do you do something like that to make sure that the person uploading these photos or saying who they are, they're actually that person?
Yeah, we do a bunch of stuff now, but we still have a lot of work to do on that. And I won't sit here and say we're perfect. We do have some things in the pipeline to help improve that. We really we do a bunch of things, like we have celebrity sort of facial recognition now, where you can search our image on Google and see if this image has more than X amount of results, and that's very likely that they're not real.
Or maybe the
Even
celebrities
though,
using the app.
yeah, then we verify that. We can verify that. There are a lot of celebrities using the
Oh,
app.
really? Oh, you got a dish. Who's on the
Yeah.
app?
Well, I can't tell you that, but
What
you
about
should download and try it.
what about is there a celebrity that has successfully met their partner? Because then they're off the app, so you could talk about them.
Yeah, yeah, there is actually.
Who?
um, there's actually a recent one. Uh, I forgot the name of the show. It's Mindy Killing, I think, or the Netflix show that has
Oh, never have I
Kamala.
ever.
Yeah, never have I ever. The Kamala character, she actually met her husband on Dil Mil, like her a real world host and not like on the show. Well, she was dating, I think, while the show was being filmed and stuff.
Oh,
And
that's really
so,
cool.
yeah. Yeah. So there's a little nugget for you and your viewers if you guys want to dig into that story. We have a blog post on it on our blog.
Okay, so that's one celebrity. You got to give me one that's currently on it. Come on. We'll give them a
I can't do
discount
that
on the
for
annual
user
fee.
privacy purposes.
Can you quickly text them and be like, yo, can I talk about you in this interview?
If you download the app and you see a celebrity, feel free to hit me up and ask me if it's actually them, and I can tell you.
Okay, I like this. Okay, that is really cool because there's actually a celebrity dating app. I forget the name of it, but it's like you have to apply. You can't just like do it. You have to be. You have to apply, and they have to approve you, and it's very exclusive. Have you heard of this app?
Are you talking about Raya?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know
That could be
some
you.
people over there. They it's interesting. I mean, they're very, very small user base. They have a couple 100,000 users, but that also just means there's obviously less celebrities than there are kind of the
Of course.
non-celebrities, right? And the product is okay. It's not a great product, but for the problem that it's trying to solve is interesting. I had a profile on Raya just to sort of be able to test it, but it's not for South Asians in particular. It's just in general. It's a
That's
mass
fine.
market.
It's just really cool that you could like literally meet a celebrity. You could be meeting, I don't know who's like single and really eligible, but I don't know. I was going to say Jennifer Lopez, but she's gone, but somebody, and they could be on the app. That's really cool. I think this is the next idea for you, KJ. I know you're busy. I'm going to make you even busier.
Celebrity matchmaking? What, like a celebrity matchmaking app? I think you should do it.
I don't know how to do an app. I'll like be the spokesperson.
Like,
I'll be the first one.
All these celebrities, and like you're already the matchmaker. You just have to sort of sacrifice your time and start going on bad dates and take these celebrities along.
No more
with you,
bad
right?
dates.
That seems to work for your friends.
No, that is not your slogan. It's not Dil Mil or KJ helps you do more bad dates. It's go to KJ. He helps you get that one perfect date. Your last first date. There you go.
There you go. See, you're a natural. I really think you need to start this.
Just to let you know, my background is marketing, by the way. So, okay. Getting back to the advice, one of the other things that I feel like people struggle with is messaging. So a lot of people are great in person, but some people are not good online, right? It's just like some people can talk and some people can't like write out a tweet. They don't know how to express what they're wanting to say. So what is the kind of advice you have for somebody? They match with somebody, they're excited, and they're like, now I got to message that person. Are you okay?
I almost like fell on my chain.
I was like, this question is, making you so nervous. What's your advice? How can people message their person, their match, and make it effective so they don't bomb or get unmatched?
Yeah, I think it's always good to like open up with like questions that are interesting, not just like the typical hi, right? Like hi is like the most messaged first message in any dating app, but I think that using sort of interesting questions and hints that you can use from their profile to sort of like ask them something maybe that they're talking about in their profile, or maybe in their picture they're doing something that you can, maybe somebody went to, LA and it's a picture in Santa Monica Beach, and you can talk about the time that you were there and talk about something that you found interesting. You want to always sort of leave the ball in their court where they can answer the question and continue the conversation, because people like to talk about things that are easy to talk about. So you obviously don't want to ask them very like the first question shouldn't be like a very deep and emotional question either. Yeah, it should be something that they can easily answer and something lightweight and fun. That generally is what we see that has the highest amount of sort of response rate.
Okay, good advice. Any other advice you have for people?
Like in messaging in particular?
Or anything, how they can use Dil Mil and be successful. Because that's what we want. We don't want people just to sign up on Dil Mil. We want them to get lots of matches and find that perfect match.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else, right? Like you have to spend time on it, and you have to sort of invest time into taking out time out of your daily sort of life and investing time in meeting people and talking to them, right? Because at the end of the day, if this is something that you're really serious about, and you want to like maybe meet somebody that's maybe going to be your life partner, you should be willing to put a good amount of time into it, right? Even though Domo makes it really easy, so you can do it, in the 10 minutes that you have when you're waiting in line for something, right, or whatever. But you still have to sort of be serious about it, and do it as a, as almost as a, as a major sort of career, thing that you would be focused on, right? You would invest a lot of time and thought into something that you're doing for your career. This is at the end of the day somebody you're spending your whole life with, and if you use Dil Mil seriously and you invest a lot of time into it, we almost guarantee that you'll find success. And I think that most people find success on Dil Mil just passively using it. But if you're really actively using it, you're bound to sort of be much more successful in terms of finding the right person on Dil Mil.
Okay, good advice. KJ, getting back to the celebrities, I know you can't reveal who's on the app, but let's say, who's your dream celebrity? Who would you love if you met and they're like, yo, KJ, help me out. I want to meet somebody. I'm having a hard time. Who would you love to see on the app?
Oh man, we've had a lot of celebrities actually reach out to us, and we've helped them as well. But I mean, they're already married, but like Deepika and Ranveer probably would have been the top, like South Asian. I guess it has to be South Asian because Dil Mil obviously is a South Asian dating app. Um, yeah, I think they're pretty up there. But yeah, we have a lot of we have a lot of friends that are celebrities too now because we do a lot of things in music as well. And it's one of the things I didn't really mention in the meeting yet, but we also have a music streaming app called Jamify. Um, yeah, it's a Punjab. It's mostly Punjabi music right now, but we're expanding. But it's also a music label. So we work with a lot of celebrities, and I think a lot of the people that have been on your show actually are friends. And we try to sort of always get them to endorse the brand and get them to jump on the platform.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. KJ, you just are such an entrepreneur. No, but really, honestly, kudos to you because, like, not only I know the amount of hard work that goes into starting any new business, let alone an app, and you've killed it. You've done such a well job there. And then you're branching out into these other things. So good for you. Do you just not like having free time?
thank you so much. But not really. I mean, I like to build and create.
I can
I
tell.
think that your sort of true happiness and purpose can be found in your work. Ultimately, my goals in life are sort of to obviously be happy and live a fulfilled life, but at the same time, use the limited time that we have to create value for society. And I think that you can really do that if you can do that, and at the same time really enjoy what you're doing at work. It doesn't really feel like work, to be honest. Every day, like I was saying, very blessed to be able to wake up and be excited about what we're working on, right? Like we're either like launching a new feature on the app, or we're thinking about, a company that we're going to buy, with the parent company now, the M&A stuff we're doing. So either I'm on the phone with founders and talking about their dreams and their ideas, and thinking about, you know either buying, acquiring, or investing in those companies. So I also am an angel investor now, so I invest in startups, and I'm also an advisor to a handful of companies out there doing some really interesting work. And a lot of them are actually South Asians, South Asian women actually, that are building some really cool brands. And so that's what keeps me busy. And I don't really, to be honest, I don't really find it that difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed, and it keeps me excited, keeps me relevant, I guess. And I'm not the type to sort of retire at 30 and go and live on an island or anything. um, I think uh, um, I think there's a lot more work to be done and a lot more fun, to be had in sort of building products and stuff like that. So it's a sort of a good. I think it's a good thing. Even my parents, like I always like tell them just sit at home and chill and relax, and they're always like, no, we gotta go out, we gotta do work, we gotta do something because like you get bored at home, right? Like, what are you really gonna do if you're not working? So I think it's just the type of lifestyle that you sort of adapt, right? Because you're always working on something, and I think that momentum is important in life.
Are we getting the parents to maybe work for you? That'd be cool.
What's that?
Are we getting the parents to work for you? Are they on the team for Dil Mil?
No, they're not. Our team is relatively young. Our sort of average age in the team is about like 25, 24, 25.
Okay, so mom's not like customer support or dad's not like answering phones or anything.
No, fortunately.
Hey, we'll make it a family affair. Okay, so KJ, we're about to end the interview. I have a brilliant idea for you because I feel like you're all about great ideas and you can tell I'm full of them, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Absolutely.
you need to do an actual dating reality show for brown people. I know you did something online with K Ray, but I'm like, that's not enough. I need you to like, why is the Bachelor and the Bachelorette always a non-South Asian? So I think you need to expand. It should be Dil Mil presents The Bachelorette, and it should be a reality show with ABC. And just to help you out, I'm thinking I could be the Bachelorette.
Done. 100%. We'll do it. If you're going to be in the show, I mean, I have no problem sponsoring the show and doing it.
But you're not going to set me up for failure, right? Like, you're not going to do like random people that are just there for entertainment and not actually a good match.
No, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it for real. Yeah, we're gonna get all the matches, and we'll find you the best match.
Okay, and we should get celebrities on there.
Yeah.
Just because, why
Well,
not? Random celebrity of the day.
I think between you and me, we know a lot of celebrities, and we can definitely make that happen.
Oh, totally. And then we could also have a mole.
A what?
A mole.
A mole in the show?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can tell I watch a lot of reality TV, don't you?
What's that?
You can tell I watch a lot of reality TV, right?
Yeah. It's funny, I probably should watch more. But the Love Is Blind show that recently sort of got really popular.
Yeah, I haven't
has
seen
really
it.
got me. You haven't?
I haven't, but I feel like it should be something we should watch because it's like an arranged marriage, right? Isn't that what our parents did? Love Is Blind. They didn't get to see.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think there might be something there if we could take that and combine that with Bachelor, Bachelorette, things that we've done and make it for South Asians. I think there's definitely something there.
Okay, so I can tell my mom today that there's hope for me, that like she doesn't have to keep crying to my aunties, that KJ is on the case, and we can combine my media background with your app, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, 100%.
I love it. Okay, thank you so much for chatting with us. I really appreciate it. You're so interesting.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, and so really quickly before we leave then, obviously people can go to the website to find out more about Dil Mil. Any other links you want people to check out?
Yeah, I mean, you could search Dil Mil on Google, or you could go to your app or Play Store on your phone and just type in Dil Mil, and we're the first app that pops up. And download and swipe away, and you never know.
And find the love of your life.
Love of your life, yeah.
I love that.
Hey guys, I really hope you like this interview. There's a lot more fun interviews like this, so please subscribe to this channel.